WJXX.
Our next guest's bigger-than-life bio matches his bigger-than-life bank account. Jeff Greene is running for the Democratic nomination in Florida's United States Senate race. He joins us via satellite. Mr. Greene, welcome to On Point.
Thank you for having me.
All right, now we know very little of you, but here's all anybody ever says. You're rich. Mike Tyson was the best man at your wedding, and Heidi Fleiss lived at your house for a while. First of all, wow. Second of all, what if any of that is true?
You know, half of it's true, but none of it matters. I mean, I didn't live my life looking over my shoulder who my friends were, thinking I'm going to run for office someday. But I can tell you this. This race for United States Senate is not about the past. It's about the future. It's about the future for the people of Florida. And I'm fed up like so many in Florida, and I want to get to Washington to create jobs, get results, and put Florida first, finally.
Okay, this is a political show and not a business show. So without explaining asset-backed credit default swaps, the long and the short of it is that a few years ago, you saw that the subprime mortgage market was ripe to burst. So you took the measures to bet against it. Your bet paid off, and you became extremely wealthy. So here's my question. How do you run for a statewide office in a state that is still very much hurting from the same housing market that made you so rich?
Well, first of all, let me make this very clear. I did not make one penny at the expense of a single Florida homeowner. Not a single Florida homeowner lost a penny because of my investments. I basically saw what was happening in the housing market when no one in Washington did. I went up against the biggest banks on Wall Street. I took them on, and I beat them at their own game. And let me tell you something. I'm looking forward to going to Washington to fight against the power brokers in Washington. And I'll also fight against these Wall Street banks and make them start making loans for Florida small businesses and Florida homeowners.
Mr. Greene, how do you fix Florida? We have a desperately awful unemployment rate. As you said, you know better than anyone the shape of the housing market here. So what do you do day one on the job?
Well, the first thing I do is, when I get to Washington, I'm not going to be taking any special interest money, so I can assure you I won't be having fundraisers, and I won't be meeting with the Washington power brokers. I'll be going to work. And we're going to create jobs. How are we going to create jobs? We're going to create tax incentives for small businesses right here in Florida. We're going to create green jobs. We're going to continue to encourage research and development and innovation right here in this state. And finally, among other things, we're going to set up a national infrastructure bank. So our ports in Florida are the best in the world, and so we can continue to be the gateway to Latin America.
Now, this is very much a rolling out of Jeff Greene, a kind of a get-to-know-you period. So who are you? What don't we know? Just tell us stuff about you, about your family.
Sure. I was raised in Massachusetts, middle class. Unfortunately, my dad, who was a textile machinery dealer, lost his livelihood. The textile mills in New England closed when I was just a kid. And my parents moved to Florida, and it was tough. My mom, who was a college graduate, worked as a waitress to help make ends meet, and my dad ran a small vending business. And he never really recovered, and I have to tell you this. My dad died at a young age of a massive heart attack from the stress of losing everything he had. So I know what it's like for people here in Florida to struggle. And I share the frustration that they have with Washington. I've lived the American dream. And let me tell you something. Well, the reason I'm running for office is I want to preserve and protect that American dream for my new baby 7-month-old son, Malcolm, for every other child and grandchild here in Florida.
Congratulations on Malcolm. That's very exciting. You lived in California for a time. Did you run for Congress there as a Republican?
You know, I have very deep Democratic roots. I grew up, as I said, in Massachusetts, and my parents were long-time Democrats. My grandparents were lifelong Democrats, and I supported President Obama early on. I was at the inauguration. For 1 year of my 55-year-old life, I was a Republican, but I'm very much adhere to Democratic values and excited to be, and looking forward to being the Democratic senator from the state of Florida.
And I appreciate that, but did you run for Congress in California as a Republican?
Oh, yes, as I said, for 1 year in my life, 1982, almost 30 years ago, I did.
All right. I'm not saying it was a bad thing. The Wall Street Journal profile on you was a little bit kind of fudged on whether you did or not. All right, fine. I appreciate you answering that. Second of all, Did you donate to Kendrick Meek's campaign prior to deciding to run yourself?
Yes, well, you know, as I told you, I support all kinds of Democratic causes and candidates. I always have and probably always will. And but you know, this is what I'm seeing now. That was months and months ago. And right now, I mean, look, we saw the unemployment rate today. The unemployment rate today came out and it was 12.3% in Florida. I mean, the national rate's 9.9%, which is already terrible. It's 25% worse here. And what I offer in this election is a choice between three career politicians: Marco Rubio, Kendrick Meek, Charlie Crist, who have failed us, and me, a job creator, someone who's been successful in business, who will create jobs. I will put the people of Florida first. I will get results for the people of Florida. That will be their choice in August and again in November.
What was the tipping point? What made you decide to say, you know what, I'm going to do it, I'm going to run?
You know, I think so many of us are just so angry and frustrated at the gridlock in Washington. I mean, these guys just can't check their ideology at the door. The special interests are in the pockets of every one of these politicians. I mean, I look at our national energy policy. What national energy policy? We put a man on the moon over 40 years ago. And just now we're working on our first electric car. Everyone in America knows why that is. It's because of the special interests. The oil companies have their hands in the pockets of all are lining the pockets of all these career politicians. Kendrick Meek talks about the housing crisis. Kendrick Meek received donations from Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. Well, no wonder he didn't notice what was happening in the housing bust here in his own city of Miami. So it's time to get politicians, the career politicians, out of Washington.
Very good.
You get people like me who understand how to create jobs and will put Florida first.
Mr. Jeff Greene, you are a breath of fresh air in this campaign. I sure hope you'll be on the show again. This was sort of an introductory session, so please come back deeper in the campaign. We look forward to seeing you later.
I look forward to seeing you in Jacksonville very soon.
All right, Jeff Greene, thank you very much.